switch it back to live again, Ruben. Let's try this. Let's see how this fits down for us here. Seems to be okay for me. They're going to be starting off on the dragon. We're only 9.5 minutes through, so we still haven't missed a great deal of stuff happening. The first blood we already saw. It was Volibear running in and claiming that from Naraturador. So they'll be taking in the dragon here, Pulse. I'm not sure if you can see on the stream just yet, but actually Kha'Zix going in to try and steal that one away. Doesn't manage to do so. I say Kha'Zix, I actually mean Vi. I'm all tongue-tied after that huge break that we just had, but Svenskeren's chasing after JWoww right now. Does get back to his own tower. Are you watching as well, Pulse, or do you have issues still?
I am. I'm just waiting for the steal to come in, and JWoww gets caught. Yeah, so it's difficult as casters kind of to like jump straight back into the game, and I think it's very difficult for the teams as well, because you keep track of like skill abilities and stuff, and then you forget them like 5 minutes later, and it's been like half an hour now, so yeah.
Oh, mid lane, Svenskeren jumps on in there, does get a charm for his troubles, and we'll back away. And yeah, as you say, I think casting is a lot about rhythm. It's a lot about pace, and when you stop abruptly and jump back into it again, it can take a little while. And it's the same for playing, honestly. That you're in that zone, and then suddenly you're taken out of it, and it's like, oh, now I have to wait here. And see what happens. Box has been popped down, though, at the top lane from Nif. And meanwhile, Stranglethorns comes up. They could be turning this one around, and indeed they will, as Matroco picks up that kill onto Nif, and that looked like it was going to be completely instigated and finished off from SK-Gaming, but backfires. I assume you're going to be seeing that team fight pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm watching it as it unfurls, and great turnaround by TCM. It's massively helped out TCM the fact that they were so quickly able to take down the bottom turret, go for the lane swap up into top lane, and then have Matroco against Candy Panda and Nif, because they weren't really ready for that. We said they needed some levels under their belt before they could really start trading off, and that was just kind of them being out mechanically played, because they had stalled it long enough where the straight up duo trade should be even. But yeah, they like Barney just played it incredibly well with his combo. Didn't even utilize exhaust.
Naratorador has been caught out here though, Pulse from Svenskeren and also Freddy 122, but they're turning it back around again. So SK-Gaming trying to make the plays, but consistently are finding themselves on the recipient end of a battering. 3-0 now. Freddy 122 has to back away, and TCM should be able to pick up this free tower as a result.
Yeah, like if you recall all the way back to the Champion Select, which does seem like an eternity ago, but we were saying that if Volibear's going to do well this game, he's going to have to snowball in the early game. And as a result, he's gone very hard into it. Like, he's picked up not only the Machete, but also the Madred's Razors, so for the early clear, and then also the mobility boost, which is the key factor. And Vi isn't having a good early game at all. He's managed to shut her down, and they should be able to continue the cycle with taking away these buffs from SK, and that will really start to hurt them in the long run.
And that all came off the back of Volibear picking up first blood as well, Pulse, because he went to top lane, got first blood, was able to instantly finish off the Boots of Mobility and just roll on from there. So with Rolling Thunder and Boots of Mobility up, it's very difficult to escape him right now. Ari's coming towards top lane, so TCM going to try a 4-man engage, I guess, onto the 2 players of SK. In fact, they're not going to. Instead, realizing that the tower's pretty weak, they may look to push this one down. Interestingly enough, they're actually going to recall, so I'm not too sure what the idea was there.
Yeah, like we saw this actually from the last game from TCM, and the fact that SK were like revolving and rotating between lanes so quickly and so efficiently, they were able to pick up a tower in return. But because TCM are now ahead, they can afford to make these type of plays and not really fear like the extra split pushing coming in from Freddy or the extra push coming in from like the AD carry, who they were in fact ganking. So it's just going to have to wait until we get to the stage where they can siege and they can push. And I think the biggest tool that SK is going to have this game is their split pushing and the rate at which they can push.
Yeah, but the main difference between this game and the last one is that even though Shen was played, last time around Belgian Beast was using Lissandra with teleport, so they could both go to, for example, the top lane and split push it, and then if Stand United was used, Lissandra could come down with teleport. But look around this time, JWoww, top laner, has Ignite instead because he's playing the Kha'Zix, so if Stand United is used after split pushing, it's going to be a 4 versus 5. Speaking of Stand United, here comes Shen on Svenskeren, they pick up the tower, but it's going to be the cost of 2 lives, it's going to be the cost of at least 1, and Ari will be spirit rushing away to safety, but tower for a kill, definitely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually watching this unfurl as Nif comes in. So, yeah, Kha'Zix, I think one of the biggest problems that TCM will have is the fact that they don't really have an answer to Shen. Like, Kha'Zix can deal him, but he's not going to have the dueling potential, for example, in the same way that, like, Zed will. Because Zed will eventually get to the stage where he can do enough damage to Shen where he can trade off against him. But Kha'Zix, yes, while he can get ahead enough to do that, he might even go for something like Tiamat to try and outpush Shen, because Shen will inevitably go for Sunfire Cape. And with the last game, yes, they had Lissandra, and she could outpush him, and she had her ultimate to stop Shen's ultimate stand united if that was necessary.
Oh, engaged though from SK Gaming as the box comes out and the ignite as well. The blue buff was stolen from Candy Panda. Kha'Zix picks up the kill on Zed in amongst all of that action, and now Candy Panda has been caught out of position again from TCM. It's going to be a 2-for-0 trade, and even though they did steal away that blue buff, it's absolutely for nothing, because now it has been transferred to Matroco. With all the advantages they currently have, with 2 players being dead for at least 15 seconds, they're going to look to push down this mid tower on top of it.
Yeah, and TCM's style is really a very sort of brute force combination. Like, they get ahead, and then they use the fact that they're ahead to group up and make power plays.
Team fight, apologies dude, this is one of the problems with how we're casting. Double kill comes in for JWoww. Thresh and Vi will both be falling down. Freddy122 is backing away from JWoww, is doing a lot of burst damage, but with another 2 free pickups, that is going to be the end of the tower. Back to you, Pulse. Again, apologies for jumping in.
No problem, and in fact, I've managed to get into the game, so I'm on the reading from the same page as you, Metas. Wow, this is the best feeling in the world.
We always take for granted casting live, but finally, we are going to learn to appreciate it a bit more, I think, now.
Yeah,
Pulse.
indeed. Yeah, absolutely.
So, you are live with me, so take it away, man. What was the point you were making before I jumped over?
Yeah, TCM are now going to just make brute force plays because they're ahead, and SK are going to find it very difficult. Both of these teams, while they have different playstyles, still snowball the games. And in fact, when we hit Season 4, that's one of the things that Riot are looking to potentially change, and like how snowbally League of Legends really is. But that's going to benefit both of these teams down to the ground as we're still in the preseason.
Well, SK Gaming are in somewhat unmarked territory, because even the game that TCM won, TCM were behind for a large portion of that game, and this is the first time in this 4-match frenzy that we've had so far, Pulse, where SK Gaming have actually had their backs against the walls. They're 5,000 gold behind at 16.5 minutes, soon to be 6,000 gold if TCM pick up this free dragon, which I'm sure they will do. So, new territory for SK Gaming. It's going to be interesting to see how they react to this.
Yeah, indeed. Their split pushing is exceptionally strong. Like, now Sivir is out of the laning phase, she doesn't need Thresh to babysit her. And in fact, Freddy finds himself caught by JWoww.
He does. JWoww's going deep with the red buff, forcing that flash away. He's not going to have any of those flash shadow dash engages from Freddy anymore, who has to recall. In the meanwhile, though, look at SK. They're pushing right down the mid.
Yeah, and also pushing in the top lane. No longer needs Thresh to be there, he can be elsewhere. They commit Matroco to Candy Panda, but they still have the strong push down the mid lane, and they can't deal with this split pushing power from SK. Once again, they're highly maneuverable. Yes, this time they have the assassin in the form of JWoww, but he really can't chase any of these guys down.
I would say, though, look at JWoww's build, and look at his items, and look at his score. It's pretty terrifying. Already a Brutalizer Last Whisper. He's going to cut through pretty much anyone. He's 4-0. And this is probably JWoww's most played champion. It's probably his favourite champion as well, what he's renowned for. So you give him this character, you give him the kills. He is capable of carrying this game, Paul. So he's going to be jumping in. Look at that. That's Svensgaren. He's a very tanky champion, but look how quickly he gets popped from both JWoww and now Terrador. The ultimate comes in. It's just going to be delaying the inevitable as Volibear picks up the free kill.
Yeah, and that just shows TCM's not only brute force strength, but picking potential in this game. Volibear and also the Assassin of JWoww, if they find someone, they just pop instantly, but they've gone for the engage on the tower.
Oh, that's a beautiful engage. Now Terrador is taking all of the damage and the ignite as well on the tower, so he's going to be falling down. Do SK Gaming want to try and return in kind here? No, they don't. They're happy to stick by the tower. I thought they may try and engage.
Yeah, but at least that's bought them some time, and it means by taking down their tank, they can't just push down the mid lane and expect to win the fight. It also reduces their picking potential, but it still means TCM are so strong right now, they're putting down the aggressive wards, they're taking all these smaller, lesser objectives off of them, such as these buffs, and there's no big objective to fight over, and none of these teams can really go for Baron at this stage either. SK are in this very awkward spot. They haven't managed to hit their item spikes either, and they really excel at split pushing, but they're not being given the chance because TCM are being so aggressive.
Yeah, very true. And The only player that's really shining right now from SK Gaming in terms of kills is Freddy, but doesn't have a great deal of farm. So Sunfire Cape on Freddy, Bilgewater Cutlass Brutalizer onto Zed, and a Blade of Rune King pickaxe on Sivir. As you say, they're just having no damage spikes right now. When you flip to the other side, lots of items on Kha'Zix, a Zhonya's Hourglass already for Ahri, and then Bloodthirster's Zeal for Caitlyn. So the two AD carries, Caitlyn's coming out way ahead in terms of damage output.
Yeah, indeed, and again, another objective picked up by TCM in the form of blue buff, and Candypana has to be pretty careful in this scenario, but Rolling Thunder gets him out of any sticky situation he might have found himself in. I would say though, the fact that Shen is doing well means that they're having to commit Kha'Zix to deal with him, and now is just seeing whether he can actually deal this one out.
Yeah, but it's a lot of damage that JWoww's putting down, and he's also 2 levels above, so you're seeing him just chunk through with the red buff ready. 122's not long for this world. He's going to fall down. 5-0, unstoppable JWoww. Now they're going to be engaging in mid. Zed jumps on Nariterador with the Ignite as well. Deathmark is going to do pretty much nothing to TCM's jungler, and they just back on off in mid. Heads held down, not feeling too confident right now.
Indeed. Like, that was very telling, and that was very important to find out whether JWoww could burst through Freddy. And now that he knows he can, then they're going to have to commit someone else to the top lane. Like, JWoww can push all he likes at the top lane, but it's still going to have to be 2 versus 1, and Freddy just can't sit up there safely anymore. And that's very scary, because they don't have that presence from Shen anymore. And over the rest of the board, no one has a kill, no one's particularly doing well, but they're still keeping up in farm. So in that sense, they should still be able to hold on, but then you have to consider the late game team fighting bottom lane.
Yeah, Stand United and Candy finally going hard on Matroco. The barrier has been used, but the Shadow Dash lands as well, and that is going to be a kill for SK Gaming. They've committed 2 players to bot lane though, and they are probably going to be picking up this tower. So question now for TCM, do you push mid, or do you potentially just try and get some farm on the board?
They honestly can't do either. Like, they can't afford to back off, and at the same time they have to make sure that they're still in the bottom jungle to make sure that they don't push any further. It was just a good call from SK, and they're picking up another, not an advantage, but they're clawing, I should say, back into the mid game.
They are indeed, but they're still finding themselves over 5,000 gold behind with a completely beast mode JWoww Kha'Zix to contend with, who's now just added a BF sword to his back pocket, because why the hell not? I need damage, I want to kill people. That's pretty much his mentality going forward, that's his motto, and he's been living up to that thus far. He's been involved in 6 of the 9 kills on his team.
Yeah, so SK's, like, playstyle is to split up, go for these tower pushes. Now that all of the outer turrets are down, they're going to find it very difficult to do so. And TCM, they're only basically waiting for more item spikes to clump up again and go for another objective. It won't be long until until Dragon spawns, and they will just go straight for it. And SK still can't fight it out. They're just not strong enough in terms of their picks and how they're doing in this game. They're using Candy Pans to split push, and that's also drawing a lot of people bot lane, but Shen has not reached a stage where he can safely push either.
Yeah, and Shen's not reached the stage where he can go toe-to-toe with JWoww. And if he does, he will die. Speaking of which, Jez is forced to pull himself back with a Dark Passage. The dragon is spawning in 3 seconds, and TCM are in prime position to try and pick this one up. Stand United's not available from Shen, so if they go in on this dragon, it's going to be a 4 versus 5 situation. They seem happier though, Pulse, to just push down mid instead and allow the dragon to wait a bit longer.
Yeah, and by grouping up, it forces SK to react, and they still know if they catch them in a rotation, great, we got a pick. If not, they still can't stop us from pushing, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. Matroco and Caitlyn, perfect sieging champion.
They are. Charm lands in on Candy Pan. It's not the first time I've said that. Reminiscence from when he was playing Lucian earlier in game number 2. The tower's taken a lot of damage. Box was used as well. No players fall. But TCM definitely coming out ahead in that engage, because this tower only has 312 hit points remaining. When this creep wave catches up, Pulse, this tower should be falling down.
Yeah, while SK have exceptional wave clear, it's not going to be enough to completely delete the minion wave before it gets there, and they just need to poke away at the turret or engage underneath it and take it down very quickly.
They're going for the engage. The Sivir ultimate comes straight out, but Zed gets absolutely crushed off JWoww. Insta-gift there, and that's now going to turn it into a 4 versus 5 for the next 38 seconds. Ahri trying to make some plays, Spirit rushing across with the Orb of Deception, going in for the final one, lands the charm again. This tower will be falling now, and they could try and engage afterwards as JWoww jumps back in. Beautiful flay though from Nif, pushing him backwards with Freddy alongside him. He's gone in for seconds. Assault and battery from Svenskeren pushes him out of position, forced to flash away. Here comes the shutdown though, and the re-engage again from TCM as they go 2-1 in this trade. They're going to get an inhib tower and the inhibitor afterwards.
It was perfectly played by Svenskeren, picking up a kill in return. That's all they could really salvage from that situation. And now they're easily just going to go for the Drake. And the top tower is also pushing, so they will have to deal with that at some point. But it's not large enough where that will completely delete the turret. So TCM, again, going from strength to strength. The inhibitor has gone down. They're going to pick up another advantage in the form of Dragon. Baron is still an opportunity for them to go for in the near future if they want to make another power play. Svenskeren looking to steal away the Dragon. They can't really respond to this. They might be able to pick up the kill onto the Pterodor, but they're burning summoners, and that's the best they can hope for.
Yes, and the Pterodor still had his Chosen of the Storm, his passive available, so he was just regenning back up very quickly, and he's super tanky. So they're going to be recalling with 5 players with about 1.5k to spend. So they're going to be coming back even stronger, even bigger than before. Last Whisper finished off onto Caitlyn, as if Matroco wasn't scary enough before. Belgian Beast looking big as well. Hasn't been back to spawn for a while, firing up the charm, doesn't land on Shen. And speaking of Shen, it was a kind of unfortunate fight there from Freddy. He taunted in and missed absolutely everybody. That could have spelled doom for TCM in that engage had it have landed differently.
Yeah, indeed. Shen is a champion who is very good when your team is ahead, because you constantly have that split pushing presence. He can teleport out and support the team. You have that classic situation where he's pushing down the bot lane and you're also pressuring Baron. But when you're behind as Shen, you're generally forced into team fights, and that is where he's generally very weak. Your Pterodor looking to pick up the red buff will be taken by Candy Panda before he can get there, but Freddy's been forced into these team fights, and he also is carrying a lot of these kills, whereas if he was ahead, great, he can deal whoever they send towards him, but at the moment he's not offering that much towards the team fights.
So what do you think is SK's mentality here? What's their passage of play going to be for the next 5-10 minutes to hold on? Because they're way behind in gold, they're way behind on items, they're way behind on damage, just in every single aspect. Do they turtle in, or do they go for a desperation Baron here?
Now that the inhibitor's down, they're kind of forced into being more aggressive, and it kind of suits them because they're very maneuverable. They can get out of dicey situations, especially like Zed can just completely mitigate the picking potential from TCM. But at the same time, if they get engaged on an open ground and they can't react fast enough, Pterodor looking to flip someone, then they'll be forced into a team fight. Luckily it was on Freddy right there, so they might be able to turn it around, and oh my god, the damage from Sivir. They definitely have a response now.
Wow, Assault Battery goes in onto J-Bar. It's such an important player to neutralize. Nice Strangle Thorns though, segregating everybody from each other on the side of SK Gaming. Turn it back round. Vi has been killed, so Svenskeren, the jungler, is dead. Jez is now going on to the AD carry of Matroco and finally firing all the way back. Longest living shadow ever back to the sanctuary of his own team. So 1-for-1 trade, AD carry for jungle, not too bad.
Very impressive mechanics from Jesus, using his Deathmark clone to jump all the way back, as you said, Mesa. So 1-for-1 trade, picking up the AD carry. However, TCM are in much better shape. They may even just go for Baron and force SK either to fight it, or they pick it up themselves. They're looking for the pick onto the top lane. They go for the safer option of the tower, but they could have gone for Baron at the same time, because it would have at least forced them to either fight or lose the Baron in return. But they're going to take up the tower.
Yep, 6th tower falling to the hands of TCM now. So they've taken both the outer towers at top and in mid, and of course the inhibitor as well. Only the bottom inner tower remains and has 946 hit points remaining. Now they'll be recalling TCM, building up some more items, and looking very strong as a result. This is an interesting Sivir build though. It's not one I've seen too often. Blade of the Rune King, Last Whisper, Brutalizer.
Yeah, it's interesting, but she needs to start chunking through some of the armor lineups from the team of TCM, because they're very easily being able to just itemize armor, because they know they're against a full AD team. There's very little magic damage coming from there, apart from maybe Shen and a bit from the Sunfire Cape, and they can itemize armor very efficiently as well. There's no point not going for Zhonya's first item on Ahri, so he's essentially been forced into buying the Last Whisper earlier, and also the Brutalizer. It will give them a small spike of damage in the mid game, but it kind of stinks of desperation, honestly, Meta. It's like, we can't afford to go for a late game damage build, because if we lose in the mid game, and because they're pushing so hard, we're being forced into this itemization.
Yeah, true. And I'm not too sure how they're going to be able to stop this, honestly, because TCM have great picking potential with JWoww, with Volley Bear as well. You catch somebody out, you're going to kill them. Ari, if lands a charm, as we've seen previously in game number 2 from TCM, can just turn team fights, can turn games on their head. So it's a case of if TCM land the right engages, they can make plays. Speaking of which, Grasping Roots lands on Nif. He will be flaying backwards, but he's still going to meet his demise courtesy of Volley Bear. Belgian Beast now in a precarious position, forced to use that Zony's Hourglass, has another Spirit Rush in the back pocket, will be using that on top of the Stranglethorns. Freddy now is very tanky, but he's going to be falling to Matroka, who picks up his double kill. Suddenly a 3-for-1 trade with just the mid laner of Belgian Beast falling. The inhibitor has respawned, but I don't think it's going to last for too much longer.
No, that's the next objective that's going to fall. Candy Panda is actually dealing quite a lot of damage, and Zed is finally back into the action, but 4 versus 2, I doubt they can defend this inhibitor. In fact, it will be falling.
Yeah, so it's if to prove the point there, Pauls. TCM have a brilliant picking potential, and if Nif gets too far away from the rest of his team trying to ward, he gets caught and he gets killed. And that's going to happen over and over again. So, as you say, SK may be in a bit of a desperation mode here, trying to make things out of nothing. And if they can get it together, though, Pauls, they still got a glimmer of hope to bring back this game, as Game 2 actually proved to us with TCM coming back from a 10,000 goal deficit.
Yeah, indeed. And if TCM do win this game, we'll go on to the 5th and final game of the series metas, which I think we would all like to see, especially after all of these delays. So it would be nice to finish the day off with that.
Yeah, some people saying in chat this is the last game. It is the last best of 5 that we'll be casting, but this may not be the last game. This is 4th out of 5th in the best of 5. Currently 2-1 to SK Gaming. So if TCM do take this and convert it into a win, we'll be going into that final game, which I believe, Pulse, is going to be blind pick.
Yeah, indeed. If both of the teams accept it, it will be blind pick. That's only ever happened once in the history of the EUS Challenger Series between MYM and Copenhagen Wolves. Be great to see it again. See all the players on their ideal champions. Flay comes back, Nif not going to be picked up. Again, not the engagement they want, but finally they can at least get Shen into a position where he can just get some farm. It's not going to be the same pressure as if they were ahead, but at least it's something.
One thing that TCM have struggled with a couple times in the past when I've seen them playing the likes of Copenhagen Wolves is when they have a big lead, they sometimes second guess themselves and they lack the conviction. Here comes Naruterador though on Svenskeren. Stan United has been used from Shen, but not going to be engaging off the back of it. Candy Panda finds himself in a precarious position. Ace in the hole comes through. JWoww was also dead on his 6, very nearly got the burst damage to do it. Flash in from Naruterador, forcing away. Jez is right there, and my game is actually frozen.
No.
My goodness. Riot,
the
please.
Worst timing.
Riot.
The actual worst timing this could ever happen.
Why man, Metas. Let's cast the all players standing still. Oh my god.
Welp. Because no matter what happens, we won't see the conclusion of that team fight, but yep.
Today I learned Riot hates us.
Oh, messes.
Well, I would love to be casting what's happening, but I have no idea. The only thing I could guess is, judging from the Summoner spells down and Naruterador's positioning here, TCM are in good way. They're in a good way here to actually pick up the fight, I think, but who knows? Because GG.
Connection to spectator server failed. The game will now exit. Outstanding.
So yeah, that's gonna be that could be all she wrote. You know, by the time we get it back up, TCM have probably won this game.
We don't know, Metas.
Or SK Gaming have just pulled off the greatest comeback ever, and we didn't get to see it, which would be even worse.
Yeah, indeed. I could always check my friends list.
Go for it. Well, I'm sorry for both a bit speechless, guys, but that is something that is kind of hard to put into words. Ruben, what did you say there? TCM won the game. There you go, ladies and gents. They won game number 4. That means we will be into the 5th game now. Whether we'll be able to cast it or not is an entirely different question.
Yeah. Nif has just actually told us in Skype chat, can't create a new game. So as much as we want
Brilliant.
to continue this series, the players physically can't.
That's just like the biggest blue balls League of Legends moment ever. You could have a blind pick best of 5 game. Nope, can't create a match. Get wrecked.
Outstanding. We're currently asking the players if they have a Tournament Realm account. That is our kind of last option at this stage.
I honestly think that's our only option now.